Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is Justin coming at you, Bridgewater's finest on YouTube, and what we're going to be talking about today is breaking down the NFL playoff picture. The NFL playoffs are upon us once again. The wild card matchups are set. I just wanted to give you a little preview and my expectations for what I expect to see this weekend. We're going to start with the Cincinnati Bengals at the Houston Texans. Cincinnati Bengals were the wild card team, obviously. If Houston wins, they're going to get Baltimore Ravens in the next round. And if Cincinnati happens to win, they are going to draw the New England Patriots in the next round. It's an interesting matchup because it's the first time in NFL history that two rookie quarterbacks are going to go up against each other in a playoff game. We've got Houston's T.J. Yates, and we've got Cincinnati's Andy Dalton, who Andy Dalton, by the way, I thought had a fantastic season this year, so I'm very happy to see him lead that team into the playoffs. It's two good to great defenses. I would think Cincinnati has a bit of a better defense, but Houston's defense is nothing to sneeze at, against two rookie quarterbacks. So, I mean, the basic idea here is, these guys are both very green. Neither obviously has any playoff experience whatsoever. Ultimately, I think this game is going to come down to the running backs. I've said this before multiple times. I think Cincinnati's Cedric Benson is a total fucking fraud. I think he's given way too much credit. I don't think he's a good running back. I think he gets the numbers that he gets because he gets a shit ton of carries. But his yards per carry average is just not very good. It never has been. It never will be. So in a game that is likely to come down to the running backs, I'll take Houston's Arian Foster and Ben Tate combination over Cedric Benson any day of the week. So with that in mind, I'm going to take Houston to beat Cincinnati, move on to the next round. The other playoff game on that side of the bracket is the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Denver Broncos. Pittsburgh and Denver, if Pittsburgh wins the game, whoever wins this game is going to play New England in the next round unless Cincinnati beats Houston. If Cincinnati beats Houston, then the winner of this game obviously plays Baltimore. It's the Tim Tebow show against the Steel Curtain, and it is an excellent matchup. Pittsburgh, I'll say this, Pittsburgh is a cold weather team. Pittsburgh is a great team when it comes to playing in cold weather. And as the temperature started to get colder, Tim Tebow's numbers have just been awful in his last 3 games at home. I'm just going to shoot you with a couple of numbers here. In his last 3 home games, this has been Tim Tebow's passing line. 40 for 84 for 490 yards with 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Now, he's padded that with something to the tune of 50 yards a game on the ground and a couple of rushing touchdowns, so he kind of salvages that with his feet. Tim Tebow's not a great passing quarterback. He's going to need a couple of years to really develop that part of his game. And like I said, Pittsburgh is a cold weather team, and despite the fact that their team is getting older, especially on the defense, they still gave up the fewest points allowed in the NFL this year. This is an all-world defense. And at game time in Denver, the temperature is expected to go below 0. So it's going to be a cold weather game. And I really think that is advantageous to Pittsburgh. On the flip side of that, Pittsburgh might be without Ben Roethlisberger. They're definitely going to be without Richard Mendenhall. Mendenhall is out for the game. He's not going to be there, which means I believe the running back duties fall to Isaac Redman, which could be quite a bit of trouble for Pittsburgh. But they also may be without Ben Roethlisberger, which would mean, I believe, Charlie Batch is their backup. So you have a backup quarterback and you have a backup running back. Not a good combination, especially for a playoff game. That being said, this is a team with all kinds of experience in the playoffs. Guys that have won the Super Bowl before, guys that have been to the Super Bowl before, and I think all that experience is going to is going to pay off. It's a game where points are going to come at a premium, especially if Roethlisberger is either limited or not playing at all. I got to stick with my gut on this one, and I got to go with Pittsburgh, based on the experience factor and that defense playing the way that defense is. So I got to go with Pittsburgh in that game. We move over to the other side of the bracket. We are starting with Detroit at New Orleans. If New Orleans wins this game, they're going to be playing the 49ers in the next round. If Detroit wins, they would draw the defending Super Bowl champion Green Bay Packers. The 15-1 Green Bay Packers. And I think this is a game that's going to come down to whichever team has the fewest question marks is the team that I think is going to win. And that's very clearly New Orleans. New Orleans, their offense is clicking like it hasn't done in a long time. They're healthy. They've got, I mean, that offense is just, it's just phenomenal. It really is. Their offense is amazing. They've got a three-headed monster at running back with Mark Ingram, Darren Sproles, and Pierre Thomas. And if you look at the opposite side of that coin, Detroit's running backs, I think, who is it? Kevin Smith, Maurice Morris, and some guy I've never heard of. So, you know, that it just doesn't match up. It really, really, really doesn't. I think New Orleans running backs are underrated given how good their passing game is. And their defense, New Orleans' defense is not good. It's not a good defense, but at the same time, it's good enough to win 95% of these shootouts that they get into. So, you know, New Orleans is set up very well to make a long run in the playoffs. You look at Detroit. Detroit's got Calvin Johnson, but with no running game, New Orleans is going to be able to afford to maybe only rush 3 or 4 all game, drop 7 guys back into coverage, and Calvin Johnson's going to be getting double teams all day. All day. If he's in man-to-man coverage one play in that game, I'll be shocked. I really will. I think he's going to get double teamed all goddamn game. And if you take Calvin Johnson out of it, I don't see how Detroit's going to be able to keep up. If New Orleans can play smart, if they don't take dumb penalties, it's going to be New Orleans all day. I will take the Saints. And in the final game on the weekend, the Atlanta Falcons at the New York Giants. Atlanta has a very deceptive 10-6 record. Atlanta didn't beat a team with a 500 or better record. They haven't beaten one since, I believe it was Tennessee in Week 11. And at that point, Tennessee was only 5-4. So they were barely a 500 team. The other at least 500 teams that they faced since Week 11, they got stomped by the Saints and lost a close game to Houston. On the other hand, you look at the New York Giants, who had to scratch and claw to win that division. It came down to the final game of the season to win that division from the Cowboys. They finally got Ahmad Bradshaw back. He's 100% healthy now, or as close to 100% healthy as he's been in a long time. That complements that running game with Brandon Jacobs, who's still one of the most punishing runners in the NFL. And what I think the game's really gonna come down to is the front seven for the Giants. Their front seven is just dominant. You talk about Osi Umenyiora, Jason Pierre-Paul, Justin Tuck, Matthias Kiwanuka, all these guys that are going to be at one point or another rushing the passer, and Atlanta's offensive line is flimsy, man. You could drive trucks through Atlanta's offensive line. So I really don't think that their quarterback Matt Ryan is going to have enough time to get the ball off. This one could ultimately become a shootout because they're decent defenses but not great defenses, except again for the Giants front seven is absolutely phenomenal. Their D-line and their linebacker core is just great. But I think it's really going to come down to them getting penetration on Atlanta's offensive line. I don't think Matt Ryan is going to have any amount of time to do anything with the ball. It could be a shootout, but it could get ugly too. I'm predicting it's going to get ugly. I think the Giants are going to run away with this game. I think this is going to be over by about the end of the third quarter. That's just my prediction. So I think the Giants are going to win it in a walk. I don't see Atlanta getting enough traction to go anywhere. Those are my predictions for Wild Card Weekend. Just to go over them one more time, I've got the New York Giants beating the Atlanta Falcons. I've got the New Orleans Saints beating the Detroit Lions. I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers upsetting, some may say, upsetting the Denver Broncos. And I've got the Houston Texans to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at Blockbuster_guy. See you later.